by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Welcome back, 6:30 on this Thursday. New information today about a California home where 13 children were being kept in deplorable conditions. Coming up, what investigators have found in that home.
And police in Belgrade are asking for your help finding evidence in a crime. Coming up, what police aren't saying about their call for help.
Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. Chet Lehman, Missy O'Malley with you here. Our top national story this morning. We have new photos and information this morning from inside the home. That California family where 13 children were allegedly being held captive, some chained to furniture.
Unbelievable. This, as relatives say, they had no idea anything was out of the ordinary. Crystal Cruz has our latest from Los Angeles, California.
This old photograph was taken of the inside of the Turpins' home when they were living in Texas. You can see what appears to be a rope tied to one of the bed frames. This is our first glimpse into the lives of the Turpin family in Paris since they were taken into custody on Sunday. Movies, a whole garage wall full of them. More than a dozen investigators spent the day processing the home as a crime scene. Riverside County deputies came to the home on Sunday after David and Louise Turpin's 17-year-old daughter escaped and called 911. When deputies arrived, they found the Turpins' 13 children were being held captive, 3 chained to furniture.
Never been so shocked in my life.
Brenda Taylor, who lives in West Virginia, says she's Louise Turpin's aunt and says she wants justice for the children.
I really thought they had the most, them kids probably had a really good life because I heard he made a lot of money and all that stuff. I didn't know they were tormented.
And it's raising new questions about oversight. The children were homeschooled and their father, who was their principal, turned in paperwork each year. But the state only requires things like ages, number of kids enrolled, and an address. The California Department of Education says full-time private schools are required to register with the state, but officials do not have the authority to monitor, inspect, or oversee private schools. One legislator wants to change that.
Given this incident, it's my intention to introduce legislation to change that so that things that happened in Paris cannot repeat itself.
David and Louise Turpin are scheduled to be arraigned Thursday in Riverside. They're being held on $9 million bail each. I'm Crystal Cruz, CBS News, Los Angeles, California.
Now, police are saying that they were never called to the Turpin home, nor were there any reports ever fielded by Child Protective Services. The couple is expected to be in court later today. We'll have much more on this tomorrow.
For sure. Meantime, Matt now steps in here at 6:33, monitoring some changes coming our way over the next little bit here.
Just take a deep breath, enjoy today. Temperatures are actually going to be pretty warm tomorrow. This time, I don't think we're going to be talking about great roads for the most part. So we are seeing some changes heading this direction. Morning temperature is actually very mild, 19, 20 degrees, not bad. 30s showing up in West Yellowstone. We are watching the clouds trying to roll back this direction for the early part of the morning. Wind chill hasn't been a huge factor. It could be a little later today as the wind starts to pick up. Most of us dealing with temperatures near the 40-degree mark this afternoon. It's this evening that we start to see the changes heading our direction. We're going to talk about what you can expect over the next couple of days and the weekend. It's coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. Our top local story for you now here at 6:34. Nearly 2 weeks after a deadly attack, police in Belgrade are asking for the public's help in locating some evidence.
But police, who have been very tight-lipped about the investigation, will not confirm if these items are linked to that homicide case. We've been following the recent murder in Belgrade and have found the same items are listed in the charging documents for the alleged killer in that case, Joseph DeWise. MTN's Morgan Davies has more.
The first items the Belgrade police say they are looking for is a black or tan hiking boot. As you can see here from the charging documents, police found footprints at both the crime scene in Belgrade as well as DeWise's home in Bozeman. The documents also point to DeWise purchasing a new pair of boots at Walmart, and the tread and size of the boots matched those footprints. There is no reference in the documents that the boots belonged to DeWise were ever recovered. The other items mentioned in the press release are 2 pairs of gloves, a Garmin GPS unit, and a pistol. Referring back to the DeWise court documents, there is no mention that police recovered a murder weapon. However, as you can see here, it does say that DeWise owned multiple firearms. There's also brief mention that the GPS location service on his phone was turned off. from December 28th until January 7th, the day the police were called out to investigate the shooting on Idaho Street.
Now again, Belgrade police are not confirming that these items are connected to the investigation into Joseph DeWise for his alleged involvement in that shooting. Police say that if anyone finds one of these items, they should not touch them. It's because the items are evidence in an ongoing investigation, however. If you do find something, you're asked to call the Belgrade Police Department at the number 406-388-4262.
And as details emerge from the shooting, it shows that the victim, Lauren DeWise, was in an abusive relationship with her estranged husband and alleged killer, Joseph DeWise. The night of Joseph DeWise's arrest, Haven, the local domestic abuse hotline and shelter, released a statement on the murder. The organization is urging women to come forward and leave their abusers, but for some safety measures that need to be taken during and after you leave an abusive relationship, here's some tips.
We know that from the point that they leave until about 2 months after is the most dangerous time for that survivor. It's where we have the highest risk of homicide. And so making sure to plan with an advocate is something we would definitely encourage, because that's something that varies from relationship to relationship and person to person.
Thank you, Erica, for those tips. And you can find out more information on the domestic abuse hotline number on our websites.
Shifting gears just a bit, visitor restrictions have been placed at Bozeman Health Deaconess Hospital due to the flu. Hospital has asked anyone with symptoms of coughy, runny nose, stuffed nose, or fever, along with children under 12, not to visit patients. Visitor restrictions are put in place when influenza virus is affecting a large part of the community. Hospital added that these restrictions help control the spread of the virus throughout the hospital. Ways to prevent the flu include getting vaccinated, as well as washing your hands frequently. In other news, Yellowstone National Park officials are looking for a suspect after 52 bison were released from a holding pen. Park staff arrived on Tuesday morning at the Stevens Creek facility, where they discovered that the bison, which were being held for possible quarantine, were gone. According to the park, the missing bison were being held in 2 separate pens where they were being tested for brucellosis. Now, as part of a possible conservation program to create new herds of disease-free bison, Yellowstone National Park Superintendent Dan Wake said in a statement, quote, "This is an egregious criminal act that set back bison conservation." He added it delays critical ongoing discussions about a quarantine program, transfer of live Yellowstone bison to tribal lands. The park is aggressively investigating this incident. Now, the park has not yet located any of the missing bison. Anyone with information is encouraged to call Yellowstone National Park tip line, the number 307-344-2132.
And a group that wants to clean up the mine waste along Butte's Silver Bow Creek presented a petition to the city demanding action. The Restore Our Creek Coalition gathered more than 3,500 signatures from the people in Butte on the petition that demands that the EPA, the state, and Atlantic Richfield remove a century's worth of mine waste buried along the creek that runs through Butte.
Get the tailings out of the creek, get the creek cleaned up enough that we have the potential to actually get to a point where we can have a creek restored there.
Now, the coalition delivered the petition to Butte's Council of Commissioners during its regular meeting on Wednesday night at the Butte Courthouse.
Political news, Montana Democrats are bringing a big name for their annual fundraising dinner held each election year in March. Former Vice President Joe Biden will be the keynote speaker at the Democrats' Mansfield Metcalf dinner in Helena. That comes up on March 10th. The dinner, a major fundraiser for the party, is attended by hundreds of Democrats from across the state. Biden, former U.S. Senator from Delaware, served as vice president under President Barack Obama. He formed a political action committee last year and has been mentioned as a possible presidential candidate in 2020, although he'll be 77 years old entering that election. By the way, the annual Democratic dinner often brings in national figures as its headliner. So it's
pretty cool stuff. That's exciting.
Yep.
That's exciting stuff. We're so glad to have you with us on this National Winnie the Pooh Day. Up next, do you receive unwanted calls? Oh, bother. What to do about robocalls? That's next.
But first, Gail King with a look at your headlines coming up at 7 o'clock.
Good morning. Ahead and only on CBS this morning, our emotional interview with Dylan Farrow. She speaks for the first time on television about her sexual assault allegations against her adopted father, actor and director Woody Allen. We'll see you at 7 o'clock.